This video is inspired by the online article from Addison Sarda dated September 7th, 2020. Please see the link in the description.
Before black people were colonized by Europeans, we were known as members of the tribe of Judah, one of the largest slave ports in West Africa. Where many of our ancestors were stolen from was labeled the Kingdom of Judah. This is a 1747 map of Africa created by English cartographer Edward Bowen. This map shows specifically where the ancestors of many African Americans came from. You can view the full map on the website of the Library of Congress. The Kingdom of Judah was in what is now called Benin. According to the Washington Post, it was once West Africa's largest slave port. In the 1870s, French public research university called the University of Montpellier put out a book called, pardon the pronunciation, Société Lagowendosienne Geographique.
Did you get that? This port, the Kingdom of Judah, was once known as the largest slave port. The largest export of slaves came from the Kingdom of Judah in West Africa.
The book talks about the Kingdom of Judah, stating, Judah is an old city frequented since the 16th century by the Portuguese slavers, who gave it its name. Its inhabitants were said to be Judaic, and they were indeed considered as a remnant of scattered tribes of Israel. In other words, the black people stolen and brought to America are the indigenous people of Israel, aka Israelites, from the Kingdom of Judah. Many people today believe that the Israelites were/are white or Middle Eastern. Over 1,000 years ago, around 100 AD, a Roman historian named Tacitus wrote about the race of Jews in his book, Histories. In the book, Tacitus wrote about Jews saying, many assure us that they are a race of Ethiopian origin. An English historian named Godfrey Higgins stated, according to many testimonies, the inhabitants of Sudan, Egypt, Arabia, Palestine, Western Asia, and India were Ethiopians, therefore Africans. As we know, Palestine has become another name for Israel. Abraham was the father of the Israelite race. His grandfather from Cush, which is Ethiopia. Abraham was from Chaldea. Historians have proven that the Chaldeans were black. The British historian Godfrey Higgins wrote in the 17th century in his book Anacalypsis about the early inhabitants of Chaldea. Quote, I admit with great difficulty the theory of all the early astronomical knowledge of the Chaldees have been acquired or invented by his race, and that the Chaldeans were originally Negroes. End quote. We also know that the ancient Israelites looked like the ancient Egyptians, who were clearly black. In 1876, a French geographer named Elisée Reclus also wrote about the same Kingdom of Judah on the slave coast in West Africa, in his book called The Earth and Its Inhabitants. He wrote, known to the Europeans by various names of Fida, Hareda, Wida, or Wida, the old writers called it Judah, and its inhabitants were said to be Jews. So, just for those who are keeping score at home, we have a community of Jews who inhabited West Africa, and they were known as Jews by other nations, by other European nations. Just keep that in mind. There was also a Jew community in Timbuktu, Mali. In 1820, an English traveler named James Gray published his book, An Account on Timbuktu and Hausa. This book states, this place is reported to be inhabited by one of the lost tribes of Israel, possibly an immigration from the tribe of Judah. Yehuda, in African Arabic, signifies Judah. Yehudi signifies Jew. It is not impossible that many of the lost tribes of Israel may be found dispersed in the interior regions of Africa. El Hajj and Salam Shabini collected and formatted by James Gray Jackson, an account of Timbuktu and Hausa, 1820. Nearly every family among them possesses the law of Moses written upon parchment. The explanation which they give of themselves in connection with their black skin is this: that after the destruction of Jerusalem at the time of the captivity, some of their ancestors, having neither goods nor land, fled to the desert. The fatigue which they endured so great that nearly all the females died by the way, the children of Ham received them with kindness, and by intermarriage with their daughters, who were black, communicated their color to their children. These children became generation by generation of a deeper hue until no difference of color now distinguished the children of Shem and those of Ham. There is also a book from the 18th century called A System of Universal Geography, or A Description of All the Parts of the World. This book is by two French travelers, Conrad Malte Brun and James Gates Percival. They were French travelers who traveled around Africa during the time of the slave trade and documented the tribes of Africa. While traveling through the kingdom of Loango, which is present-day Congo, they wrote,
"The kingdom of Loango contains black Jews scattered throughout the country. They are occupied in trade and keep the Sabbath so strictly that they do not even converse on that day. They have a separate burying ground very far from any habitation. The tombs are constructed with masonry and ornamented with Hebrew inscriptions." Yes, this is the same place, the kingdom of Loango, or the Congo, that so-called King Leopold came and wreaked havoc on the people. From Belgium, so-called King Leopold from Belgium. We will be doing a story on the very near future on Patreon explaining the destruction of Leopold from Belgium and how they came there and decimated the place for rubber. And they decimated the people of the kingdom of Loango, or the Congo. We cannot emphasize enough the names that the continent of Africa has gone through. This is a map of Negro land. Well, today, those places are known as Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Ghana, the Ivory Coast, Mali, Chad, Cameroon, Central Republic of the Congo, and many, many other names. But you have to understand that these are the same places. And we know that the name of Africa is not mentioned in the Bible, but that landmass was called by many different names. Egypt, Ethiopia, Mizraim, the land of Ham, Eden, many different names, same location. And what is known as the Middle East today was called Israel, Canaan, many different names, same location. So please don't be fooled. Please do your research. And we want to get across the point that the Hebrews were scattered throughout the entire continent of Africa, mainly West, East, and South Africa. Not so much in the North, because in the North they would have ran into the Romans as they were escaping persecution. So again, this is another account of showing who and where the Hebrews are, the many, many different countries that they're scattered to. The Black Excellence and Abundance Channel, where Black history is every day.
We ask that you please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember, thou art